Hello and
Hello,
welcome to the Gangrene UK podcast. This is our third episode, and now today it is just myself and Ant again. We had a very busy one last episode, quite a few people involved, got a lot about free agency, had a good chat, but now we are here again, and it's quite nice being just me and yourself in it. To be fair,
Yeah, I mean, like, it's amazing having everybody on, but like, listen, it's quiet,
yeah,
like not noise. So yeah, it's kind of good, but equally, what we're talking about today is kind of like it is that a bit easier when it's one on one because it's easier to digest the thought process behind what we're talking about.
Yeah, so what we're talking about today, I think we probably just felt that having four people on would be like a shouting match. Everyone would be like coming for each other. So I think we thought like two people might be better. So today we're talking about Brees Hall and maybe more of a general discussion about the Jets running back room as well, because Brees Hall has been interesting recently. So he's been tagged. The understanding around the league at the minute is that Brees Hall is still well, the Jets are still working on a contract with Brees Hall for a long term. Now, the reason we're doing this episode is because I don't think that either myself or Ant believe that Brees Hall is going to commit his long term future to the Jets. And a draft is coming up where we have the second overall pick. Now, a couple of mock drafts recently have had the Jets taking Jeremiah Love at two. Now, definitely a top three player in the draft, but today we're going to break down whether or not we'd even consider taking him at two, whether trading back and then taking him later would work if he'd be still available. And also we're going to take a look at the free agent running backs. We're going to look at the draft coming up, and we're also going to look at the Kenneth Walker contract, break that down, and look and see if Brees Hall will be looking at that sort of figure. So first questions first, because I think actually if we both this is one where I think we both do agree with. And would you take Jeremiah Lovett too?
I don't think I can bring myself to do it. I have him as the second best player in this draft, maybe third, depending on the day of the week if the wind's blowing right. Uh, but I think from all the chats that we've had, I think I am determined to be disappointed at the draft. I want the Jets to rip my heart out with a pick. Jeremiah Love at two would do that, I think. Not because of the player, just because of the value of the position. Um, yeah, I know there's a couple of fans out there who would be ecstatic, especially Mr. Love from the Hippo podcast, because his initial is J and his surname is Love. Like, it's a dream made in heaven. But I'm not sure I can see it happening or endorse it with my heart, I'll be honest.
Yeah, look, I'm not a running back in the top 10, or really, for the most part, unless they're a do it all running back like a Christian McCaffrey. I think it's a tough sell. Look, Jeremiah Love, we don't really need to talk about how good he is. Nearly 1,400 yards, 18 touchdowns in 2025. Like, my concern is that he only had 280 receiving yards. So I think that he's a very good running back, but I don't think he's a do it all running back. And I think he's a player that is a difference maker on offense, but I don't think he's someone that you can build your offense around. I don't think he's someone that you can rely on to be a real game changer for a team. I think he feels like a luxury pick. Like, for example, the Rams, who have got a good team anyway. I think if the Falcons had been a bit worse towards the end of the season, didn't pick up their form, and the Rams were picking in the top five, they don't need a running back. I'm just saying, as more of like a general point, a better team that have got a by an almost out of place pick. This is where they could think, I will take a luxury player that will potentially be effective on the offense. I think he probably goes to the Titans. If I'm honest, at four, I don't think the Cardinals take him either. I think the Titans' biggest need is probably running back, so I think he probably goes there. Now, just because we wouldn't take him at two, let me run a scenario through with you. Let's say Robert Sala, yeah, let's go for it. Let's say Robert Sala really likes Arvel Reese, and he trades up with the Jets to two, takes Arvel Reese, the Cardinals take Francis Marinella, and the Jets are on the clock at four. Do you then consider Jeremiah Love at four? knowing that you'll probably have then a second round pick as well from the Titans?
I'll be honest, I still think it's a no. Only because of what you said. Like, don't get me wrong, Love, he has got good hands, and we both know Notre Dame don't kind of use their running backs in that way. Doesn't mean he can't do it.
Mm.
I don't love him in pass pro, and that's something that our running backs have to do, especially that we've got Gino. Everything about Love says that he's going to be a good player at the next level.
Yeah.
My thing is, we saw this last year with Ashton Jeanty. Everything said that Ashton Jeanty was going to set records in the league,
Yeah.
and it didn't happen. Now,
No.
I would say we are technically better than the Raiders on defense, on offensive line, but equally, I wouldn't sell the farm for it. And at 4, with the situation that you've just said, I've still got choices of Bain, Bailey, Styles, and a handful of other ones. I think unless I'm dropping to 6, maybe 7 or 8, I would start looking, but I still wouldn't be over the moon with the pick because there are some legit areas of what I would class as more need.
Yeah.
So,
I'd be tempted to agree on that. I think, yes, you're getting a very good player, of course. And look, it's hard, isn't it? Because, I mean, last year, Ashton Jeanty went as high as he did. And his first year in the league, I think Ashton Jeanty was, I don't want to use the word better because he was playing for Boise State, and there's lots of things that you've got to sort of collaborate with that. But I maybe preferred Jeanty coming out. And Jeanty had, 3.7 yards per carry, just under 1,000 yards rushing, but he had 266 carries, which was the 7th most in the league. So, and he had a terrible offensive line. I'm not blaming Jeanty, right? I still think the talent's there, and if he went to a better situation, he would have been amazing. Offensive rookie of the year wouldn't have shocked me, right? But yeah, I just can't. I can't get there. I really can't get there. I think that we have too many needs. If we had 2 needs, right? If we were like, oh, we desperately need a wide receiver and we desperately need a running back, yeah, sure, right. You could maybe sell me on it, but we need a quarterback, a wide receiver, an edge, a corner, a safety, a linebacker. There's just a guard now, yeah, as well. There's just too many needs, and I think that it would be irresponsible to do it even at 4 for the Jets, even at 10. If he was there at 16, I would have a conversation and consider it. But there's no way he's there at 16, nor should he be. But then maybe I could find it a bit more palatable.
No, I'm fully on board with that. Now, it's one of those where I'm looking at it going, I love everything about him on paper. I think he fits our offense very, very well, especially with what Frank Reich's going to do with the less pass pro, but he will play a lot of 21 and 22 personnel, I think. So we're going to be seeing, obviously, if Breece isn't there, we're going to be seeing Braylon Allen and Jeremiah Love in that situation. That all of a sudden I'm like, oh, that feels tasty. But yeah, I don't see him being there at 16. He should be, because I don't believe any running back should be that early because of zero value. But then, do you think there's any way Breece stays? I mean, we've both kind of spoken off air that we feel like it's doubtful. But I'm looking here at his stats, right? And I feel like he's missed more time than what he's actually missed. So on the list that I've got, he played 16 games in 25, 16 games in 24, 17 in 23, and 7 in 22. Why do I feel like in 24 was when he done his leg and was out forever? In my head, it's just not. It feels like that was so close ago. But I think it's just we've had a couple of bad seasons where it all kind of blends together. But statistically, he's pretty much been solid for 3 years. He's not been amazing, but he's been solid. And I just think maybe the only thing is with him, he's not scoring, and you need your running back to score. I mean, I know we've had Isaiah Davis take a bit of the scoring off him, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just like, is there any way you see him staying now?
No, I really don't, and I think that's where I'm at with this. Like, look, if we're talking about Brees Hall as a player, he's had 1,000-yard season.
Yep.
He's never gone above 5 touchdowns.
Yep.
And last season it wasn't as bad, but in 2024 he had a massive fumble problem. I'm not here slating Brees Hall. I think Brees Hall is probably, he probably is one of the Jets' best players. I think he's been consistently one of the Jets' best players. I think that my concern is that if we're now talking about the money he wants, I'm projecting he probably wants a similar deal to Kenneth Walker. I know Kenneth Walker had the Super Bowl MVP thing, but I think if you're looking at it as a whole, Kenneth Walker's slightly older, but again, got drafted in the second round by the Seahawks. Similar profile in that sense to Brees Hall, and he signed a 3-year, $43 million deal. For me, his AAV is like 14.5 million, nearly there. Makes him one of the highest paid running backs in the NFL. I think that's what you're going to have to pay Brees Hall to keep him here. I think if you say to me, that's what it's going to take to keep Brees Hall here, do you do it? I don't. And maybe I'm probably in the minority there, because I'm not sitting here saying Brees Hall's not a fantastic running back, because I really like him and I'd like him to stay. But he's 25 when the season starts. Again, yes, he hasn't had the most recent injury history, because he played 7 games in 22, but then he played 17, 16, 16. So I'm not like concerned about it so much, but I just don't think you can pay him that much money. I really don't see that you would. And I don't know what you get for him in trade, but if someone comes in with a 3rd-round pick, I take it. I honestly, that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it going, we're talking about Brees Hall now, and we're currently paying him 14.6 this year on the tag, and the average on Kenneth Walker's contract is 14.3. So I can't see us paying him close to 14. I think we're going to be wanting to be paying him around about 9 to 10. I'll be honest, because
signs for that.
He won't sign for that. I think he believes that next year, it's whether we can get to that point of where somebody comes in draft night and maybe offers us something. So, like we were saying, if we trade with the Titans, drop back to 4, so they can take Love ahead of the Cardinals, and then the Cardinals take somebody, we're not in a bad position there. But if somebody trades in ahead of the Titans and the Titans need a running back, we know that Salah's a big fan of Brees. Maybe they come in and offer us something. I don't think we can actively say we're going to shop him, because I think at the minute he doesn't hold much value. But at the draft, or maybe closer to the draft, his value slightly goes up, because I do believe that he's probably, if he was in this class, knowing what we know about him now, I would put him, top 3 running backs?
Yeah.
Probably top 2. I think he's probably better than the guys that we have ranked 2 to 13. So
yeah, I think it
would be a toss up between him and Love over who's first. I like Brees because of his ability from the backfield as a pass catcher, and he's better in pass pro than Love is. But that's not enough. I can't see us keeping him with his attitude at the minute. It just doesn't bring anything to it for us.
That probably factors in here as well, like his weird tweets and all that sort of stuff, and like what you look. None of us are, we're not in the know, right? We don't know that Brees Hall wants to or doesn't want to be a Jet, right? I think probably that if he did want to be a Jet, and that was where he saw his future, then the deal would have been done. I don't blame him for not wanting to be a Jet, to be honest. I think the way that you've got to look at that and think he maybe wants to go to a contender and stuff. He wants to play in the playoffs. He wants to do all these things. And look, could the Jets do that in 2026? Sure, but I don't think it's likely. I think he's probably looking at it thinking, well, where am I going to be more likely now? the two fits I see for Brees are the Cardinals and the Titans. Now, do I think the Cardinals are a better team than us? No, I don't. Do I think the Titans are a better team than us? I don't think so. But I like Cam Ward a lot. I think Robert Saleh is a decent coach and will help the defense there. I think that maybe it's a toss up, right? So if he was to go to one of those
They're
teams, would he
definitely
really be
pluses
improving
with them.
anything? So I'm looking at the picks that those teams have. Now you're probably going to get a third. I don't think you're going to get a second. Well, certainly don't think you're going to get a second. I think you're going to get a third. My issue that I see straight away with the Titans and Cardinals is the targets is that Titans have got 66, Cardinals have got 65. They are the first and the second pick in the third round. So they're very high third round picks. I don't think you get either of them to part with them. You might get them to part with their fourth round picks, again, which are early fourth round picks. So pick 101, pick 104. But then you've got to argue whether the value is there. Now, for me, if you said to me, right, we're going to get pick 101 and we're going to take Jonah Coleman or Emmett Johnson, and Braylon's going to be healthy, and we're going to bring in a vet, I don't think that's the worst option. Now, on the market of vets, is there any vet that you look at and think, even maybe on a 1-year deal, that's who I'd bring in?
I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. There's 3 or 4 on a 1-year deal that if they pass physicals and Frank Reich's kind of in on them, I wouldn't be upset with because of what they can kind of do. I mean, Najee Harris has got to be one that they kind of have a look at. I mean, he's 28. He's in his going into his 6th year. I think his market value is probably about 4 million a year. Like he could be a cheap option. Like we know when he's fit, he delivers decent. I mean, I'm not saying he's gonna light the world on fire, which we know he's not, but he fits into the room pretty well, I think. Then you kind of like you're looking down and going, how far do you want to go? I mean, I'm not against Khalil Herbert coming back. I like him. He's about the same price as what he was last year, which is like 1.2 mil. Like it's a basic deal. I mean, then you start when you're looking at it, there is no big names dropping out. I mean, I'm looking at the list now and I'm finding it really hard to kind of commit to anybody. I mean, we could always go Bam Knight or Michael Carter.
I was literally looking at this list thinking, like, is he going to say it? He's going to say it, isn't he?
It's one of those where we're bringing everybody back. Like, come on, guys, let's have a party.
What about Le'Veon Bell? Does he still fancy it?
I think he's rapping in or boxing, one of the two. I think he wants to knock one of the Pauls out, doesn't he? So
I think he needs to get a line. That was one of the most wild quotes I've ever heard. Say he'd knock any NFL player out, active or not, as if
yeah,
Miles
while looking
Garrett
at
would
Miles
have
Garrett,
flattered him.
yeah, Miles Garrett knocked somebody out with a helmet. So I'm not being funny. Imagine what he'd do if he caught you with a fist. But I'm looking at the depth chart now, and I'm going Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, Keenan Wang Wu. Like honestly, mate, these vowels are killing me today.
Kenny Wango, yeah.
If we lose Breece Hall, that room becomes a little bit softer, less dynamic.
Yeah, but, I think Kenny's one of the best Kenny's one of the best kick returners in the NFL. Yeah. But I don't think he's going to come in and be, like a running back as such, taking actual running back snaps. I think if I'm looking at the free agents, I want to caveat this very heavily by saying if they're healthy, because if they're not, it's a irrelevant point to make. But Joe Mixon, I'd be interested in if you're looking at 3-4 million AAV and he's healthy, because in 2024 we had over 1,000 yards, 11 touchdowns, 4.1 yards per carry. I'm happy with that for sure. I think another interesting one, I would genuinely take Brian Robinson Jr. You're looking at someone that is he's only 26. He's about to turn 27. I have to look at the date of birth on this because we're at the start of the year, which is quite weird. So he'll be 27 when the season starts. But in 2024, right, he had 799 rushing yards, 8 touchdowns for the Commanders. I think that's completely solid, right? I think that's absolutely fine. And you pair that up with Braden Allen, potentially a rookie as well. Isaiah Davis, I don't think long term is the Jets' answer at running back. As you know, like he might be in the room, he might be a special teams player potentially, but I don't see that he's your long term solution as one of your running back room. So I think if you went into a 3 of Braden Allen, Emmett Johnson, I keep saying his name just because I really like him. He's my favorite running back in the draft. Braden Allen, Emmett Johnson, and Brian Robinson Jr. I think that's a perfectly fine running back room. You know, you've not got the big dynamic, massive plays that you would have with Brees Hall, unless Emmett Johnson comes in and is amazing, because I think he can do that. But you draft in a running back in probably the 4th round, you kind of, it's a crapshoot, isn't it? You've got no idea. But yeah, I think on somewhere around that, I think Brees Hall definitely leaves. I think the value is a 3rd, but I think we end up getting 4th. And I do think it's probably a draft night scenario. Now, if Brees Hall wants to go to,
I've got a feeling that's what it's going to be. I feel all our phones are going to be vibrating in the pen, and it will be Brees Hall's being traded, and then it'll be trading, and something like that will happen. Brees is a great player. I just think he's been downtrodden here that much that he needs a change of pace just to get his head around it. Like, it's tough, man. I mean, I've seen fans transfer teams, so seeing a star running back do it wouldn't shock me at all.
It feels a bit like when Q left, to be honest. Someone that you just kind of want to see them do. You kind of want to see them win. Like, and I think that's how I feel with Brees Hall. I think this podcast will come across like I don't like Brees Hall. I have 3 Brees Hall jerseys hanging up in my wardrobe, right? I love Brees Hall. This is not a Brees issue. This is a I value aspect. This is a running a franchise type issue. I'm not saying this with any emotion. If I was saying it with emotion, I would say I don't want Brees Hall to go. But when you talk about the money that he requires, all of the holes we have on the team, and the fact that we're probably not in a position to win this year, although I'm not giving up that we're in a position to win this year. I think that defensively would be better. I think Gino's got some in the tank. You know, by the time the season starts, I'm going to hype myself up that we're getting a wild card spot. So, but look, Brees is just, I think he probably wants that more guaranteed, thing. And if I'm honest with you, I think he might go to the Texans as well. Well, we're talking about teams and fits for him. You want to go to a team that can contend. I think that's a team that can contend.
Well, they could, but it all depends on whether they want to burn it down, because the Texans, you just never quite know with them. And I mean, looking at their picks, what they've got, 28, 38, 59, 69, and then 106. Now, I'm a big fan of like the 100 to 110 range. I just think you get some real value there. But then they've got 141, 167, and 243. So they don't have mass value picks. So we're talking multiple if it's not an early. Like if they don't love a running back and they decide they need a running back and they're in the 2nd round, we're going to be taking a 2nd rounder, a 4th rounder, and probably a 5th rounder. Or at least that and David Putney, just because I feel like it. If anybody gets the reference, they'll appreciate that one.
Look, it's an elite reference. I'll be honest with you. I like that.
Yeah, I've been saving that one.
That'll be a couple of days before the draft ritual for all of us, won't it? As it is every year for most of us.
I'm going to watch it on the plane on the way over.
I watch it like Christmas Eve. It's like, like when you watch Christmas films on Christmas Eve. That's what it is to me. 100%.
So, I mentioned John from the Hippo podcast. John is actually in the movie Draft Day.
Really?
Wearing a Chad Pennington jersey in the crowd. You can only see the back and side of his head, but you can blatantly tell that it's him. And it's like 4 seconds, but it's like super cool. So shout out John, the movie star.
Well
But
done,
yeah,
John.
I think we're right. I think unfortunately I don't know if we see Brees play another Jets game. If we do, I'm not upset by the way. Like
No,
you said,
no, of
I don't
course not.
hate Brees. I wish him nothing but success if he leaves. Very much like you, but it just feels that he's done. It feels like other times with like Elijah Moore and players like that who kind of let it go online instead of dealing with it like an adult. But we'll see.
That I think that's just modern day sport. Not to give Brees an out, but I think that's probably just a like endemic of modern day sport. Like I think that's probably that's what I would say about that. I just realised, by the way, the Texans have brought in David Montgomery, haven't they? Not
Yeah,
saying that
but he's
that
like,
stops them bringing in Brees Hall. I'm just saying I
I was
think
gonna
that
say he's like
that
9,000 years old.
imagine pissing off David Montgomery more by being like, "Oh yeah, the Lions you have to share all your carries with Jameer Gibbs, and Jameer Gibbs is our guy," and then the Texans bring in Brees Hall.
Yeah,
Like
I mean that they must have had a conversation about that,
you would
surely.
think so, because Woody
Yeah,
Marks probably won't take a lot off him. Although, like very quickly on this, I watched Woody Marks for USC when I went to California. I thought
yeah.
he was amazing. I loved him like in person. He looked great. I think he's a really good running back. Send the Texans a fifth round pick for Woody Marks. I'd do that. They
Oh,
wouldn't do
bold,
that.
bold.
I would. They wouldn't do that, but I'd do that.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, it's one of those. I think Otis said it best when we drafted Brees. I mean, I've got an affinity to Brees because of how we picked him. But Otis said he will not get a second contract. And then even
there's
after the rookie season and everything like that, he won't have a second contract. And I can see justification on that, but equally, I can see justification on giving him a contract. Like, if we got it done, I'm not unhappy. I'm repeating it now because I'm trying to talk myself into giving him what he wants.
just give me the money.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, make me unhappy, Jets.
It's a head and heart thing for me. With my heart, I'm like, just give Brees the contract. He's a good player. He deserves the money. Pay your best players. I get that. But then the old school football fan in me is a bit more like, I look. I want to put this on record. I've never believed, because I know a lot of people believe you don't ever give a running back a second contract. I don't agree with that at all. Fundamentally disagree with that. But a running back with an ACL injury in the past, not that I think that's probably a long term issue, but who has had 1,000-yard season and never eclipsed 5 touchdowns in a season, it's a tough sell. And it's been a bad Jets team, by the way. It's not all Bruce's fault, but it's a tough sell for me. But look, I think I can probably summarize the end of this podcast by just saying, if Brees Hall is RB1 on the first day in September, first game in September, me and you are both going to be happy about that,
Yeah,
regardless of what happens. And if he plays, to be honest, he's got the tag this year anyway, right? If you don't work out a contract, but he plays on the tag for a year, stability in that room. If you draft a running back in the fourth, fifth round, and they get to sort of share it with Brees, and we have a 1-2 punch with Braden Allen and whoever we draft, and then Brees goes after the franchise year. That's an option, right? As well, that
yeah,
could also
absolutely.
happen. So I think either that happens or we just trade him for a fourth now and move on because we'll get nothing next year for him. So we shall
Yeah,
see.
get
But
what you can, and like you say, unless you like you say, there's a benefit of keeping him in the room. So yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, it's probably the hardest conversation we've had on one of these because there is no right answer to it. There's so many pluses and negatives on both sides. So yeah,
you're not making a right or wrong decision. It would have been. I think if you want a debate between me and you, if we did this podcast when Garrett signed his new contract, I think me and you would have been like fighting on the podcast, like throwing stuff across the room, chucking glasses at the wall, like all that
yeah.
sort of stuff.
I'm still not sure about paying a wide receiver to that price, but okay.
I'd pay him more. I
Yeah,
would
I
put a
mean,
blank check in front of him and let him sign it. He's my favorite Jets player.
yeah, but you're also talking to the guy that asked Marcelino McRae Ball to tell Jamie and Sherwood to give up the green dot because he's a better player without it. And I explained my thought process to Lino, and Lino was like, "Okay, I'll tell him." I wanted to tell him in person. I said, "But he's not here." So yeah, my strong views are why everybody seems to listen sometimes, I think, because they're not necessarily down the line, is all I'll say.
I'm gonna end this episode with this thought process for everyone that listens to these. We're sat here in the middle of March, right? We've got the NFL draft coming up. After the draft, everyone's gonna be really excited. You've got all these new players coming in. Everything looks like, really happy, rosy, all this sort of stuff, right? First day of the season comes around. We'll do a preview before it. We'll all be excited. If the four of us are on, we'll all be buzzing. We'll all be dead happy, dead excited, talking ourselves into it. 4 or 5 games in, there'll be some fireworks on this. I can probably assure you of that. So it's all happy and friendly now between all of us, but we'll see what happens later down the line. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, it's going to be a journey, guys. It's going to be a journey.
Absolutely, that it is. But look, thank you for listening today. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Obviously, the podcast is available on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. Give us a like and subscribe on all of them. Give us a rate on Spotify and Apple. 5-star would be fantastic, of course. And we will see you, and you will hear us next time.